This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're gonna acknowledge me.
All right, welcome to the Mailbag here on the WWE Podcast. It is Thursday, August 22nd, 2024, as we are closing out the week here, and I'm recording this a day early. So if you got me your email or voicemail anytime after Thursday evening Eastern time, I probably didn't get to it. I know I didn't get to it because I don't have a time machine. So I won't be able to read it until either next week or on Sunday's Weekend Review, but I'll be back in studio Sunday night and coming to you for a Weekend Review time, and it'll be the next time that I'm actually back and off vacation. So closing things out and wrapping things up here on vacation, so it'll be a good time. And thank you everybody for sticking with me this week. I know this isn't the normal sound quality. It's not terrible, but it's a little echoey, not exactly the best, but it's what we have to work with, and I appreciate everybody sticking with me. If you want to join me on Patreon, you can do that by going ad-free and getting a 7-day free trial just to try us at patreon.com/WWE Podcast or Apple Podcasts as well. But, all right, well, let's get to the emails, and we're going to start directly with those of you who are on Patreon. And then I'm going to let you guys know about another podcast that I'm doing. And if you want to check it out, check it out. If not, then no big deal. But it makes sense for us to use this platform to promote another show if I've got one, right? I'd be silly not to. All right, let's see if we've got anybody from inside Patreon, because there's a lot of times I do forget those of you who message me directly. So this is from Frank. All right, Frank, let's go. You messaged me on Patreon. He says, "This is Frank. So my questions this week is this week starts with, if or when Randy Orton goes in the Hall of Fame, who would you pick to induct him?" That's a good damn question. Who would Orton, or should Orton be inducted by? John Cena's an obvious candidate. Vince McMahon would be if he wasn't pretty much blackballed by his own company or former company. To me, it's got to be Triple H. Right now it's Triple H because of Evolution and what Triple H was able to do to help Randy Orton's career. So I think Paul Levesque. Second, I was wondering if you would make a dream team of all era 5 members. Who would you pick? The good question. 5 members, all eras. Okay, well, this isn't going to be very interesting. This is going to be a little bit kind of, I guess, elementary or pedestrian. Number 1, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Number 2, Undertaker. And this isn't, I guess, in any particular order, but these are the 5. And this is to go, I guess it would also depend on who they're supposed to oppose or what this group is supposed to mean, or if they're all supposed to be baby faces. I guess it's just another glorified way of asking me who I think the top 5 people of all time are. So I guess we'll go with that, which is essentially what I'm putting together here. Stone Cold, Taker, Rock. Yes, it's a lot of Attitude Era. Yes, I'm biased because I grew up in the Attitude Era, but they were objectively some of the biggest stars of all time. So you got Undertaker, Austin, Rock, and I gotta put Hogan in there. He's certainly not the best in-ring worker, especially by today's standards, but star power wise, say what you want about the man. Say what you want about the man Terry Bollea and his personal flaws, but he is one of the biggest stars. So there's your 4th. And the 5th member, that's, this is probably going to be John Cena. John Cena, as much as sometimes I criticize his babyface work, That's got to be it. All right, let's move on. Finally, I was wondering, since the Bash in Berlin is in a couple weeks, and they main the person Germany, I'm not sure what you mean, is going to be there, which is Ludwig Kaiser. Why that? I'm not sure what you mean, Frank. Maybe I'm not reading the sentence correctly, but maybe you're talking about Gunther. I'm not sure. So, Frank, I'm not sure, so I apologize. If you rephrase your question, I'll be happy to answer it next week or maybe in the week in review. But thank you, Frank. Sometimes I don't read things correctly. I'm trying in my brain, but I can't put it together. So, all right. So let's go to another patron. This is Joel, and he says, "Hey, Matt, always been a massive Bianca Belair fan, but after the last 2 weeks of backstage promos, you can add another EST to Bianca's list of adjectives lamest. Oh, lame EST, got it. These backstage segments have been so corny, I can get secondhand embarrassment for her and Jade. These women need to be believable badasses, but they lately just feel awkward and uncomfortable. I hope things turn around soon." Thank you, Joel, for bringing this up. I will say, and I have been an advocate of Bianca Belair. I have said on countless occasions that she is an arguable best athlete the company has, man or woman. Certainly she's one of the top in the women, but I mean, even when apples to apples, of course, you compare the men to the women, she's in the top 5% of the company. She's amazing in terms of the ring. She has still the best days ahead of her, best years, hopefully, ahead of her. On the mic, she has been progressing nicely. I think there were times where she was embarrassing. She was uncomfortable. I think that she did find herself. And then over the last year, she's kind of lost herself. So kind of getting to your point, Joel, she main evented so many things, had bust-ass matches with Sasha Banks when she was there. Now Mercedes Moné, who is another conundrum that is just god-awful, is Mercedes Moné, and maybe we'll dive into that sometime. Never a big fan of Sasha Banks, especially what in WWE, her weaknesses were hid well, where in AEW, I don't think that they realize how horrible her weaknesses are in her promo skills and her aura and her complete narcissism that is suffocating over there in AEW. And I don't mean that in a complimentary way. I mean that as in, that's actually who she is as a person, and she can't help it, and she's just completely a turnoff on TV. But anyway, as I said, I wasn't going to talk about her. I just talked about her. So, to your point about Bianca, with all the good things I've said about her, like I said, in-ring, and occasionally her mic skills or her promos have been good, she has, like you said, she has kind of fallen into this tag team with Jade that we all know is eventually going to fall apart into a match with these two. We all know it's eventually going to happen. But clearly Jade's not ready. Otherwise, they might have done that at this past year's WrestleMania. Well, I mean, my God, what better way to showcase Jade Cargill than putting her in a dream match with Bianca at WrestleMania 40? I mean, there's no better time to do it, but there's no doubt that the reason is it's because Jade isn't ready. Now, keeping Jade and Bianca together makes sense for Jade because Jade needs help. She still needs help. She needs help in the ring. She needs help on the mic. She's not a disaster. We've seen some flubs from Jade. We've seen some good matches, okay matches, and a couple of really, just womp womp matches from Jade. But I'm still on board for her character, and her look is carrying her ass right now. Jade's look is still the only card she's really got to play. However, it's such a good card that it has been able to just drag her through the trenches of her weaknesses, which are really just in ring, having a good long match, and her promos, which have been still subpar. And as far as Bianca goes, she's been lost in the sauce for a little while now. She's been lost ever since Damage Control took her out, and then she tried to take them all out one by one. It's the last significant thing I remember Bianca doing. Yes, she won the tag titles with Jade, but look, the women's tag titles, I'll say it, are beneath you can even make an argument for Jade, but certainly for Bianca Belair, the tag titles, women's tag titles, are beneath her. There's no need to have Bianca Belair in that team, but they're trying to elevate the tag titles on top of having Bianca be the one to help Jade along here, because Jade does need help. So Bianca's really giving back right now, but it's time for Bianca to kind of step out. And the gimmicky crap, as you're talking about, the head rolling, very prepared, clever, or at least attempt at cleverness in her promos is eye rolling. Everything that ends in an EST, she has to make sure she says EST. And she comes across so off-putting. I would agree. I would totally agree, which is also why, and I'll still stick by this, there is a hell of a heel run in Bianca Belair that I'm waiting for. I think Bianca as a heel would be awesome. Would be awesome. And I think once this turn happens with Jade and Bianca, Bianca might be the one to play the heel. Might, but we'll see where that lands. Yeah, I would agree, though. This needs to turn around because Bianca's she's capable of so much more. She's just been in a rut for the last year. All right, another patron. Let's talk to Darren. He says, hey, WWE Podcast family. I'm interested to see what the dynamic will be like between Solo and The Rock when he returns. We assume he's the one that's been calling all the shots. So does Solo hand the Tribal Chief title over to him, or does The Rock acknowledge Solo as the Tribal Chief even though he was calling the shots? Or maybe he wasn't calling the shots, just told Solo to take over and do whatever he wants. What do you think? Well, I've been steadfast that it's going to be revealed that The Rock has been the one that has been calling the shots, but I might be backpedaling on that because of what Solo said about what that, and forgive me for the name of that, the red necklace. There is a name for it. I don't know the technical term, so to use layman's terms, that red necklace makes you the Tribal Chief. Just by simply holding it, you are the Tribal Chief. So if that's the case, then Solo doesn't need to have the shots called by The Rock back, in the background. He could call the shots himself, because also The Rock acknowledged Roman Reigns as his Tribal Chief before he left. And that would mean that you're subservient to the Tribal Chief if you acknowledge somebody as your Tribal Chief and you're not calling the shots, the one who's the Tribal Chief is. All that to say, my theory about The Rock calling the shots behind the scenes could still be true, but it doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense if by simply holding an item it makes you the man. Because why would Solo take orders from somebody that he doesn't have to? So my theory could very well be wrong because of that. So maybe the more likely scenario is The Rock, while Roman Reigns is getting beat down by Jacob Fatu, by all the members, Sammy can't help him. You have Jay and Jimmy can't help him. Everyone's beaten down. Maybe they got another member helping out Solo, whatever the case. And then here comes The Rock, looking like he's about to make the save at a big PLE. Maybe it's Survivor Series. Could very well be. We're only a couple months from it, incredibly. So that's not, I think, crazy to think that The Rock could be making an appearance there. And then it looks like The Rock's going to help them. And instead, he's there to help assist in the beatdown. It could be. But that's how I think it's going to be. I mean, The Rock is not, let me underscore, not returning as a pure babyface. The final boss character is how he is returning, which is a heel that's so god dang entertaining that he's essentially a babyface disguised as a heel. It's very interesting. So that's what I think. But The Rock is going to be the one to oppose Roman, no doubt about it. That's where we're headed. Which makes me want Roman Rock again for like the 8th year in a row, even if it is Rock heel, Roman babyface. All right. Let's, before we get to DJ's email, and we'll get to DJ's email in a second, I want to let you guys know I have a new podcast, and it is available on Apple Podcasts. It's slowly making its way to other platforms. It is submitted to Spotify. It says it was approved on Spotify, but That doesn't mean it's in the search, like it's not searchable yet. So if you search for my podcast, the podcast name is called The War on Truth. And I know there's another one out there called War on Truth. It's by BBC or something. They haven't updated their feed in like several years. That's not it. The logo for mine is a laptop. It's an animated logo that has a laptop with the screen of the laptop saying The War on Truth. Okay, that's how you know it's me. And I put out my first episode a couple days ago. I was thinking about publishing another one today. And just it is politically driven, culturally driven, okay? It's not really much to do with wrestling, although I may tie in wrestling to it at some point. So those of you that want me to talk about things other than wrestling, there's your place to go. And I know a lot of you may not agree, or it is what it is. It's a very, very high octane conversation, especially in an election year. But if you want me to talk about that stuff, then check out The War on Truth. Again, my show is the logo with the laptop, not the other one, okay? You'll see it. I only have one episode published, all right? It's one. So I might have two by the time you listen to this, but I wanted to let you know. And I appreciate any support you can give me. And if you hate the show, you hate the show, cool. But I hope you like it enough to follow it. All right. So let's go to DJ. He says, hey, AEW and WWE podcast world. DJ Kuzma is back at it again. And he says, is Odyssey Jones Big E's replacement? Is Xavier turning heel? Is the New Day going to break up? Questions like these and others make this storyline compelling to watch. What happens next? Another interesting thing to mention that I discovered is the 10th year anniversary of the New Day debuting on Monday Night Raw is coming up on November 28th. 2 days before Survivor Series War Games in Vancouver. So, does Xavier finally turn heel at Survivor Series or before? Thank you, DJ, for bringing this up. You're the man. Most people probably wouldn't have recognized this. I knew we were getting close to that 10-year mark. I've thought it was like, 8, 9 years. But 10 years makes sense. 2014. That group, remember they were like the Baptist singing church group. Remember that? I can still see the vignettes in my brain that Vince had, the vision for these three men of Big E, Xavier, and Kofi. And it ended up being a success. And you know what? For all the crap I give the New Day, I do remember watching it and thinking this is entertaining in a way that Vince didn't think it would be entertaining. And then coming out and all of a sudden it's New Day rocks and people are getting into it, but they're cheering him even though they were originally debuted as heels. And it was a gimmick that wasn't supposed to be this successful. And sure, it's more than run its course. It ran its course about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It was done. But they have pumped out a ton of money for the company in merchandise. Kids love them or did love them. But that is an interesting stat, one that I hope WWE is aware of. They may not be. But if they are, that's a perfect place to have a massive turn. And November 28th, it's not that far away. 3 months? 3 months and change? That's a hell of a time to do it. To answer your question, I would do it on that day. On that day, or build up to a 10-year celebration. That's what I would do. Have WWE, have it look like Xavier's going to turn. In the interim here, between now and November 28th, have it look like he's going to turn. Ultimately, cooler heads prevail. He ends up, for the next couple of months, sucking it up and saying, you know what, I've just been having a tough time, and you guys are my real family, right? And then all of a sudden, you're thinking, I guess it's not coming. And right when they have you hooked that it's not going to happen for the next couple months, wham! The breakup happens as they build up this 10-year anniversary of the New Day. They can't break up the New Day before that. How many groups survive more than just a couple years, much less a decade? Very few. Very few. They're in rarefied air right now. Rarefied air. So they should take advantage of this for maybe like a month, build up to the fact that the New Day is going to have a 10-year celebration. And that's where the turn happens. Maybe Big E makes an appearance. If he can get physical, great. If he can't, obviously don't. But Big E should make an appearance. Xavier turns heel that night. All right, seems like main event Jey Uso has been floating around for months after his championship match against Priest and the crowd reaction he got in France for WWE Backlash. It's just a matter of time before the OG Bloodline reunion finally happens. However, it's kind of possible that Jey could align with the Terror Twins to offset the attacks of the Judgment Day since he has a thing for Rhea and kayfabe. Yeah, that's fine, and I'm all for Jey temporarily doing stuff. That's actually what he should do. I don't want him just sitting and catering for the next however long, several weeks to months, until it makes sense for him to help out Roman Reigns and Jimmy returns, and maybe they do a slow build back to those four men. I think that's probably the smarter choice. Rather than having it all at once, you have piece by piece slowly come back to help. I think Jimmy will be the very first one, maybe as soon as this week. More likely at the PLE here in Bash in Berlin, Jimmy comes back to a massive reaction to help Roman. Paul Heyman slowly makes his way back. Then Jey comes back a couple of weeks later, and then Sammy comes around. So in the interim, sure, I think it makes sense. You got to have Jey do something significant, but nothing that is consequential for more than like a month, because they don't know what to do with Jey. They want him in a program, but they don't want him in a program that's going to tie him down to longer than when they need him to overlap into SmackDown. And how they get him into SmackDown, who knows? Maybe they just do the Randy Orton special and just have him appear for no reason, which is really surprising with Triple H at the helm, that they just don't care to even address the fact that they're from an opposing brand and how they got there and all that. But ultimately, fans aren't going to care because the OG Bloodline reunion is what the fans want. It's what they want. So they're going to get it. And speaking of the Terror Twins, who do you think might join them temporarily to take on the Judgment Day? Because I'm thinking of a possible LWO and Terror Twins partnership, aka the TTLWO, that could lead to the 5-on-5 Survivor Series War Games with the face-to-face feuds of Dom and Rey, Rhea and Liv, Priest and Balor, Dragon and Carlito, and maybe even Andrade come from SmackDown to Raw to have to face face-to-face feud with JD McDonough. Yeah, I think that's plausible. It's so funny, though, as you're coming up with all of these combinations that could happen at Survivor Series. How long have we been talking about the Survivor Series War Games match? Months. Like before SummerSlam. Before Money in the Bank. We've been talking about this Survivor Series War Games match because there's so many great stories that you could put into place for this match now. Whereas before it was kind of contrived teams at times. It felt a little contrived. Now, no, you have the OG Bloodline versus the new Bloodline. Maybe the Terror Twins and their ragtag team versus the new Judgment Day. There's a lot of good combinations this year. And it's just funny that we've been looking towards this PLE for how many months. It's interesting. All right. Anyway, before I go on to Survivor Series Rabbit Hole, this is DJ Kuzma signing off. Have a great weekend. See you in the Discord chat for Friday Night SmackDown. All right. Thank you, DJ. We'll get to the Joe Hendry report in a few moments. All right, DJ, let's talk next to Dino. And he says, what's up, Matty Boy and the WWE podcast? Dino from Scotland. Let me hear you say yeet. Well, I just did. Listen to your introductory War and Truth podcast. I've got to say I am hyped. I'm a massive podcast guy. I currently listen to well over 10 different podcasts, probably closer to 20, the majority of which are based in Scotland, and now your new one is another one I can add to my Spotify library. Oh, awesome. I am on Spotify. Okay, cool. I'm really looking forward to making a point or two to your new podcast email that will challenge one or two of your views, and no, I'm not someone who's far left on the political spectrum, in case you're wondering. No, cool. Again, politics, just going to keep it brief and just say, Dino, thank you. Emails, warontruth@yahoo.com if you're looking for my other email. Looking forward to that, and thank you so much for subscribing. And that's what ultimately, here's the point. I'm not talking about politics specifically, just general talk here is I'm glad that we can have a conversation, even if you don't agree with my points. Hell, sometimes I say a point, I'd listen back and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't sound right. So sometimes I disagree with myself. I'm just getting my toes wet into the whole political spectrum. I've been listening for a while, and I've finally decided to try to contribute in some way. So it's just nice that we can have conversations an art form that has been totally lost today. Even take out politics, which of course is one of the most toxic things that you can talk about today with anybody. Religion is a close second, but just generally, even wrestling. Wrestling today, people have now been conditioned to hate the person that has opposing views. I'm not saying you, Dino. I'm saying just generally. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. It's almost as if anytime anyone disagrees with the views you have, you dehumanize them in your mind to the point where you wish harm on them. That's where we're at, guys. I'm really talking not just politics and religion aside. They're their own problems and big ones. I'm talking about just sports. I'm talking about pro wrestling, entertainment, shows, TV shows. People have, discussions about all forms of entertainment. And how many times do you see on Twitter or other social media platforms where people are out of control with how they react to people that have opposing opinions? It's incredible. It's sad. So circling back, it's really nice that I'm able to have discussions with people. I'm sure you get people that obviously have different ways to approach it, and that'll happen. But all right. As hyped as we all are for Roman's first match back, I'm not so sure I'll be at Bash in Berlin, as Roman doesn't seem to appear at international PLEs unless it's in Canada or Saudi Arabia. With him being on the kind of contract he's on, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not on the show. I reckon we're going to have to wait a little longer for Roman's first match back as a babyface. I personally can't wait. Yeah, is Solo and Roman official? I don't think so. If it's not, then yeah, sorry, bruh. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. It is a shame. But even though Roman's back, I think we have to understand Roman's still on Roman's schedule. The schedule he was when he was the tribal chief for nearly a 4-year reign as undisputed champion. That looks like a schedule that he's retained. So we may have to deal with that over the next, however long his career is. Roman's never going back to full time. I think we all need to, as fans, take that out of our brains. We need to just take the expectation that Roman is going to be at most or every PLE, nearly every SmackDown, sometimes on Raw. That's out. House shows, you can forget it. Outside of the MSG house show that they treat specially, or the occasional random house show they may be booked for, maybe, at a bigger venue. But, again, we need to just, I think, come to terms with and make peace with the fact that Roman is on his own schedule now, and he deserves it. Look how long, Roman's been in the company on the main roster for 10 years. 10 years. And he's paid his dues. He really has. Despite the fact I hated the big dog character, he still busted his ass. And if we want to see Roman in the future for many more years, the way to preserve your body and your mind is to not have such a horrific schedule. And he's earned it. Okay, I thought Alba Fire and Isla Dawn had a good showing this week on Raw and continue to get better week by week. It's amazing what an actual women's tag team title run can do for you. Absolutely. But here's the key. Consistency. As I've said forever. Consistency, which they just can't do. You get these bursts of hope. We've seen this for how many years now with the women's tag belts? So yeah, it's nice to see, but I still don't put much stock in it because we've seen this movie before, have we not? This movie has played before. So until I am told otherwise and educated otherwise, I'm not too excited just yet for the Women's Tag Team Championships. I thought Odyssey Jones came out of Raw this week looking strong while AOP looked kind of weak. Another thing from Raw this past Monday, I actually thought Maxine Dupree was having a great showing until the Wyatt 6 showed up. Yeah, I think Maxine is definitely on the rise right now. Not a meteoric rise, but she's trending upward, which is good for her. And let's see, I thought she's having one of her best showings, as you said, to date in her career, even though it only lasted 2 minutes, which I thought was a shame, as I was actually enjoying her matches for once. lastly, I'd like to bring up the fact that we're getting Uncle Howdy's debut match on Raw next week. I'm just hoping he's improved wrestling-wise, because from what I can remember from before, when he was just Bo Dallas, he wasn't great. And he was one of those lame mid-carders that had matches no one was interested in. And so all I'm hoping for is to see Uncle Howdy be able to put in a good match. We'll just have to wait and believe. See y'all next week. Let me hear you say yeet. Thanks, Dino. So here's the deal with Uncle Howdy. Even if, I would really say this with fairly high confidence, say Bo Dallas, and I don't believe this, but for argument's sake, say Bo Dallas has not improved at all in the ring. 0. I don't think the fans are going to give a damn. And I don't think most of us would notice. A really good character can make up for a lot of bad in-ring. I don't think he's bad in-ring. I do believe he has improved. My point, though, still stands. Even if he hasn't improved a lick, his character has really started to connect with fans because of the connection he had with his brother, and obviously the connection that Bray Wyatt himself had with the fans was incredibly strong. So that could make up for a lack of really good in-ring psychology and all that. But I also don't think that the fans have a ton of expectation when it comes to Bo Dallas in-ring. That's not what the character is built around. The character is built around character. It's built around the VHS tapes. It's built around the connection he had with Bray. And when you look at Bray Wyatt himself, he wasn't that great. Bray Wyatt did not have really, really good matches. In fact, he was involved in some of the worst matches in history, in recent history, that were panned, completely panned by fans. And I don't want to hear from anybody that, oh no, I thought it was great. Nonsense. You're only saying that because Bray Wyatt's dead and you're trying to, revise history here. No. What am I talking about? How about the pitch black match that he had? The only match he had. That was with LA Knight upon his return. That lasted like 6 minutes. Even Uncle Howdy made an appearance there. And he beat LA Knight, which ironically helped LA Knight's career immensely in the Mountain Dew pitch black match. Remember that? Horrible. And because everything was gimmicky, don't forget about the Seth Rollins Hell in a Cell match. One of the worst Hell in a Cell matches and critically destroyed matches of all time. In fact, the fans in attendance were booing it. It was horrible with The Fiend. So, even through all that, Bray Wyatt still came out smelling like roses on the other side because his character was so goddamn compelling. That can deodorize a lot of other weaknesses. So, Dino, thank you, buddy. All right, a couple more. Let's talk to Scotty. He says, hey, man, I'll make this short and sweet. When the Wyatt Six gets done with their rivalry against Chad Gable and the Creed brothers, who do you think their next opponents are going to be? They have a couple of options that they can go to. One of them could be the Judgment Day, but my guess will be Xavier Woods once he turns on Kofi. Let me know what you think. They could do that. How about the Terror Twins? That's fun. It doesn't always need to be a perfect math equation, meaning the Wyatt Six obviously are 5 or 6 members. I mean, it says 6, but are there really 6, or do they not anoint the 6th member yet? Either way, you're not going to have 5 or 6 people floating around that are on a team. So they're always going to be outnumbered. However, if they were to attack the Terror Twins, that would mean that group's turning heel. So maybe they have plans for that after they are done with the Judgment Day a couple months down the road. So a heel turn by that group is not impossible. But is it ill-advised given that people want to cheer for a Bray Wyatt group? Probably right now, yes. It is. So they have to go after more heels. So who are those heels on the roster? Who are those people that they could work with beyond Chad Gable and the Creed brothers right now? I mean, they're the perfect kind of foes. They can take a loss, several losses. They're great in ring. They're great to help debut anyone because they can make everyone look good. So right now, I think they stick with them for a little while. And then we'll have to see how the landscape turns out over the next month or so. And we can dissect who could that next team be or individual. You also have to be careful with the babyface group that is always going to win the numbers game. You've got to be careful with that. Because it could turn you heel quick. Babyface groups are usually either outnumbered or they're not the ones with the number. Or like I said, yeah, they're not the ones with the numbers. The heels are. They're the ones who are having to fight from behind, fight from underneath, try to even the odds. So when you have a babyface group with that advantage, it presents itself a little bit more challenging to continue to have you cheer for that group. And so we'll see. All right. Let's talk to Kieran. And K, or K as you want to be known, says, thank you for reading my last 2 posts. It was most appreciated, and you're doing a great job. One thing, can you please refer to me as K? Oh, whoops, sorry. There you go. Well, see, if I had read your first sentence, I wouldn't have to have said your name. Well, K. All right, K. Let's go. Friday Night SmackDown. Was not overly happy. The start was okay. With those 2 buffoons in the ring, Nia is okay. Meacham will get squashed. My favorite, Tiffy, definitely has evil intentions, which I like. The rest of it, Roman will inject something as soon as the Usos join, maybe KO 2. For Monday Night Raw, awesome in my humble opinion. Gunther, RKO is great. Ludwig again. I thought Imperium was done. Judgment Day, Terror Twins, pure gold. I still think someone will join Rhea and Damian Priest. Alphas are comedy, American-made are great, but the Wyatt Six are killing it and representing Bray in an awesome way. Punk and Drew are working. Yes, they are. And once again, in my humble opinion, thank you, Kay. All right, thank you, Kay, for your analysis on all of those items. And I know that you have another message here. It's brief, so I'll read it. And Kay says, SmackDown bores me. I hope for more Tiffy time. Oh, did I already read this? Maybe there's some points in here I didn't. Bronson Reed's a beast. Yeah, there you go. Bronson Reed's a beast. So you heard it here first from Kay. Yeah, he is. And Bronson Reed is on a tear. How about Bronson Reed gets attacked by the Wyatt Six? There's your next maybe opponent. Bronson Reed finds a friend after Braun Strowman and he have their battle, of which Bronson Reed will win. And Bronson Reed recruits a couple of henchmen. I think that's good. How about the AOP, or I'm sorry, yeah, the Final Testament versus the Wyatt Six? And again, I don't really look at this as like brand specific anymore because they just have shown us again that they are not going to adhere to the brand rules. So they're just going to put people on the brands that they need to. When they can't find someone that's convenient on the brand, they're just going to throw people on. So hell, the heck with the brand split. They don't want to abide by the rules, then I'm not going to respect them, you know? All right. And yes, eventually, how about the Wyatt Six versus the New Bloodline? That eventually could happen. Although, for the next several months, I don't even know when the next time the Bloodline is going to be free for something like that. Where they're just sitting around going, oh, wow, our rivalry with Roman and that's the OG Bloodline's over. What do we do now? That's not going to happen for quite a while. I mean, they don't even have all the pieces of the puzzle back, much less the matches set up and the outcomes of the matches and the fallout of the matches with The Rock and Jimmy and Jay and Heyman, right? So much to talk about there. I mean, we haven't even started. So, all right. Let's see. I think we have 2 messages here. I think we've got 2 messages. So, one is the Joe Hendry report. And the other one, I believe, is Brad from Florida. I haven't heard from him in a while. So let's talk to DJ first and get this show on the road.
Hello, WWE Podcast World. This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show. Record you live on a Wednesday morning. And you know what time it is. It's time to
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
That's right, folks. Joe Hendry is his name, as I take it to my 6th episode of the Joe Hendry Report. But before we get to the groundbreaking, history-making moment for Joe Hendry last night on NXT, I gotta talk about what took place this past Saturday in Redwood Falls, Minnesota, as Joe Hendry was back on the indie scene, this time at Midwest All-Star Wrestling in a matchup against none other than Jay Fowler, which won 14 minutes and 56 seconds as Joe Hendry got the victory. Now, of course, the mayor of Redwood Falls declared that on August 17th, which of course was this past Saturday, and every August 17th going forward, it will be known as Joe Hendry Day in Redwood Falls, Minnesota. So shout out to everybody. Shout out to the mayor of Redwood Falls for making that proclamation that we're going to have a holiday in Joe Hendry's honor in Redwood Falls, Minnesota. Now, you see, I'm not from Redwood Falls, Minnesota. I believe in Joe Hendry, and I love the fact that Joe Hendry could come out at any time, at any place, just by saying his name. So just to have a holiday dedicated for him is an insult. It should be every single day because this guy is one of the most over-professional wrestlers in the industry today. He's on Tuesdays on NXT. He's on Thursdays on TNA, and on Saturdays and Sundays, he's on the Indies. Now let's get to NXT, and of course, like I mentioned, the groundbreaking, history-making moment for Joe Hendry last night, as he is now the #1 contender to face Ethan Page at No Mercy, which Shawn Michaels read my mind because I potentially put that matchup of a triple threat of Wesley, Pete Dunne, and Joe Hendry on last week's episode of the Joe Hendry Report. So shout out to Shawn Michaels. Thank you, my friend. Now that we had this triple threat, which, of course, another awesome matchup of all these three guys, Joe Hendry gets the victory with a little help. That's right, with a little help from Trick Williams, as none other than Ethan Page prevented Joe Hendry from trying to win the match after when he hit the standing ovation to Pete Dunne. The referee's legs gets pulled out as none other than Ethan Page was saying, hey, I'm not going to let Joe Hendry get his opportunity. I'm not going to let Joe Hendry be the #1 contender. But then all of a sudden, as I guess you could say Ethan Page was trying to block the first referee from trying to get back into the ring, here comes Trick Williams to hit the trick shot on Pete Dunne, giving Joe Hendry the opportunity to pin Pete Dunne in 1, 2, 3. Joe Hendry gets the victory to become the #1 contender to face Ethan Page for the NXT Championship at No Mercy. This is the crowning moment. This is what I've been waiting for. A championship opportunity for Joe Hendry. Ever since he showed up on NXT, this is the time. As of course, we saw at Slammiversary, in which he did not win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. This, my friends, on September 1st in Denver, Colorado, we're going to probably see a new champion. Do you believe? Do you believe the fact that Joe Hendry could possibly win the NXT Championship on September 1st in Denver, Colorado at NXT No Mercy? Because it is a possibility, my friends, that no more that we're going to have a champion in Ethan Page, but we're going to have a new champion in Joe Hendry. Now, with that being said, and before I go on a long rant talking about my guy Joe Hendry, I must stop here. So remember to say his name. Believe just like Domino's Pizza. Believe just like Cody Rhodes and John Cena and a whole host of professional wrestlers that believe in Joe Hendry. And most importantly, do this.
Wave your hands from side to side and say, oh, I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is so prestigious.
Once again, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay safe, my friends. Believe and peace.
Well, Joe Hendry is certainly alive and well in this podcast. Thank you to DJ Kuzmo for the coverage on the latest events with Joe Hendry and the fact that he now has a #1 contender for the NXT Championship with Ethan Page. Really cool. And I think we're seeing just the beginnings of Joe Hendry's run, and one that likely, hopefully, will end on the main roster with championship gold on the main roster. That's obviously the goal here for all that are Joe Hendry fans. But you continue to need to have stars on NXT to have NXT be relevant, so it's a very big balancing act here. The game is not easy to manipulate because you need stars to help NXT grow, But the idea of building stars is to get them to the main roster, but you can't leave NXT a barren wasteland. So it's this very difficult balancing act that they have to do every time that NXT builds a star like this. So we're going to have to see how this plays out. But thank you, DJ, for your continued support and your continued coverage of Joe Hendry. All right, let's get to Brad, and then I think that'll do it.
Hey, Matt. It's Brad in Florida. August 21st, Wednesday, I'm calling you. I hope this gets in time for your mailbag on Wednesday, August 21st. If it doesn't, then I'm probably going to sound like an idiot if you play it a week later and whatever. But regardless, I just want to talk about the Roman Reigns thing because I have to be honest with you, man. I think this return has been very flat. I want to hear a mission statement from Roman. I want to hear why he's back, what's going on. I want to hear the way he speaks now. I don't want to just see him come in the ring and he's pissed and he's leveling everyone and blah, blah, blah. Like, honestly, we've seen that at SummerSlam. We now saw that 2 or 3 weeks in a row on SmackDown. Enough is enough. I need to know what he's thinking in his head for this to be good for me. It's just an action sequence every time. And I think they're making a big mistake because I love Roman. I'm a gigantic Roman Reigns fan. But for him to just come back, I don't even like the new theme song, to be honest with you. I really wish he still would have held on to the old one. But that is what it is. But I just don't think it's that good. And maybe I'm in the minority because I know everyone thinks it's cinema and it's the greatest thing ever. I just don't think it's good at all. I want to see a reuniting with Jay, Jimmy, with Paul Heyman. I'm sure that will come over time. But I think they're dragging this out way too long before letting him speak. I think he should have spoken right after SummerSlam. And here we are almost a month later, and we still haven't gotten it. Liv Morgan is, to me, the best story in all of WWE because it makes sense. It's not just someone coming out, there's a feud for 3 weeks, blah, blah, blah. Like, it actually is a well-thought-out storyline that involves more than just, oh, me, I'm here to take your title, or I'm here to defend my title against you. I have to be honest with you, I don't think WWE has a lot of good storylines going on right now and a lot of interesting stuff. It's just fight, banger, fight, banger, fight, banger. A lot of Triple H's NXT favorites are in the mix. Whether it's Ciampa, whether it's Gargano, whether it's Butch, or Pete Dunne, whatever. I don't know, man. It's just not really doing it for me right now. Maybe I'm the one who's crazy because everyone else seems to love it, but I hope it gets better. Talk to you soon, man. Thanks.
Hey, Brad, always good to hear from you, buddy. Hope you're doing well down there in Florida. So you bring up a fair point about Roman Reigns. I will give you this. Now, I will stand behind my assessment prior to and post Roman's return that there wasn't really a bad way to have Roman return because the fans just wanted it so bad. I don't think they could have really effed it up. They would have had to try to F it up. And the return they did, I still would have held out longer. I still, and this is not me Monday morning quarterbacking. This is me just repeating what I said before SummerSlam. I would not have Roman just come in and spirit everybody. I mean, I would have had him come out there and when he does return, which would have been post SummerSlam, talk to Solo and be like, hey man, what's going on here? And, and wait for the fans to anticipate that explosion. Instead, Roman just went right to spears and Superman punches. And it's like you said, it feels like we missed a chapter. It feels like we skipped chapter 1 and went to chapter 2 or 3. And there should be some explanation. I don't I would have moved it past SummerSlam. I actually wouldn't have Roman return at SummerSlam, even though fans loved it. It was a big explosion, all that. And it's true. Fans did love it. So ultimately, that's all WWE cares about is the reaction and the dollars. And they should. That's really what their most important thing should be, because that's how they measure success. Not the only way, but some of the big ways, right? But Roman's lack of dialogue has been it's been noticed. and noticed by you, noticed by me, although I haven't brought it up, so I'm not going to pretend to steal your thunder or that I knew or was going to, I wasn't. I'm glad you did bring it up though, because in my mind, I thought it, just didn't vocalize it on my show. But here, while I do agree with you, here's what WWE would say. This doesn't require any explanation. I think the story kind of explains itself. We don't need to have Roman coming out there and cutting long promos on this. Is it not self-explanatory that Solo took the reins of, no pun intended, being the tribal chief without Roman's consent? That he just went rogue and disrespected him and his family by taking the tribal chief title? Yeah, that's how they would possibly tell us what's going on and why Roman has not decided to cut any kind of promo, is that they feel it's not needed and the story is self-explanatory. That's what they would say. Not what I would say, but what they would say. And to a small degree, I think that's true. Like, we should understand what's going on without dialogue, but the dialogue helps fill things in. It helps fill in the cracks. It helps solidify what is going on, as you said, in the mind of the protagonist and the antagonist. It's called telling a story, and yet we haven't been told a story. From Roman's side anyway. I actually didn't want, again, Roman to just start attacking. I wanted a dialogue. I wanted the buildup. I wanted some kind of foundation laid and understanding as to where Roman stands and Solo stands before the physicality. And it feels like we just skipped that and went to the physicality. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're doing that now. And so we're already in the physical part, but they have to eventually come back to a promo. And the question on that is, are they still not sure if Roman can cut that promo? Or are they confident he can, they just don't feel the need to right now because the story is explaining itself? I don't know the answer to that. It seems to be that they feel, based on the crowd reaction and social media reaction for most people, that they don't need to worry about the promos because most people aren't complaining about it and they're satisfied with Roman returning and just kicking ass. But for you and for me and for a lot of podcast wrestling fans that are more, I think, detail-oriented and storytelling, we want an explanation from Roman. Yeah, we know what you're generally going to say. We know that you're generally going to say, like, yeah, that, as I said earlier, you disrespected the family, you took the reins, you've been lying, you've been trash-talking me for the last several months, whatever the case. And that's why I came back, to set things right in my family and everything's family-based. Fine. Yeah, we get like the gist of probably what you're going to say, but we still want to hear it. Just because the story is self-explanatory and easy to understand doesn't mean I don't need dialogue from the actual protagonist in this match or in this program. It doesn't, I guess, create some kind of immunity for Roman Reigns. It doesn't, completely... It doesn't completely exempt Roman Reigns from having to speak because we understand the story. I mean, if that's the principle that we're going to go on, well, then most stories don't need anyone to talk.
And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com.
Then no one's going to have to talk because most of, but not all, stories
we'll see you next time.
Are understandable. Understanding pretty easy. Like you kind of get what's happening here and why someone's mad at the other person. So yeah, this is weird. They're doing things backwards, but they may not care, and maybe they are a little bit not confident in Roman's babyface skill yet. Like you said, how's he going to talk? Is he going to feel the same? He's going to look the same when he has a promo. Are they going to be short? Are they going to be suffering succotash? Let's hope not, right? But anyway, yeah, it's a good point. As always, Brad. Good point, and I'm glad you brought it up because at this point it is getting a little ridiculous, and I don't need any more Superman punches or ooh-ahs or... Like, that's all fun, and it is what we want, but the foundation and dialogue being laid before that, 99% of the time, makes more sense than just going to the physical before the dialogue. But maybe they're relying on the fact that Roman's such a big star and the anticipation was so high that the fans aren't noticing or care. that they haven't provided anything for Roman to say yet. It's also kind of frustrating. Now that you're bringing it up, I'm really like annoyed by this now. Now I'm like angry about it. But thank you, Brad. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the callers, all the emailers. You guys can follow me, as always, on X at wrestling_audio. You can go listen to my new show, The War on Truth. Again, my icon. There are 2 shows that are similarly named. I'm one of the 2. I'm the laptop one that says The War on Truth. We are going to have 1 or 2 episodes up for right now, not much more. So check it out. That's the one that it is. I'm not BCC or BBC. That's not me. I know that one of the authors is BBC. That's not me. So check me out if you want to listen to me talk about something other than wrestling. That's where you can go. And if you want to hear me talk wrestling, you can, of course, stick here on the WWE podcast. Stick on the free feed. That's fine, too. But if you want to go ad-free, patreon.com/WWE podcast or on Apple Podcasts at, the same name. I don't know where I was going with that. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'll be back in my studio with my normal audio quality on Sunday night for the weekend review. But, of course, tomorrow I'll be... I don't know, are Fridays anything? I don't know. Maybe we'll post something on Friday. And usually it's this show, but I'm posting it a little early on a Thursday night. So maybe I'll post something tomorrow night. But I'll be traveling tomorrow. So if I'm traveling, then it's unlikely. So you'll probably hear from me the next time on Sunday, but then we'll have our SmackDown review Saturday morning from Amanda in the UK. So, all right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. I'll shut up now. Enjoy your morning, afternoon, or night, and take care.